Today is Wednesday, October 8th. What to know about a White House memo that could leave federal workers without back pay after the government shutdown, and the heated Senate showdown with Attorney General Pam Bondi that turned personal. Plus, why gold prices just hit record highs, which state is turning down the volume on loud streaming commercials, and what new data shows about the 996 work trend making its way to the U.S. Those stories and much more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. President Trump is turning up the pressure as the government shutdown enters its second week, and federal workers are once again caught in the middle. A draft White House memo argues the administration is not required to pay furloughed workers once the shutdown ends, as in no guaranteed back pay for essential government employees still showing up for work. If that were to actually happen, it would be a major reversal from years of standard practice. The memo claims a 2019 law guaranteeing back pay applies only if Congress passes a funding bill that specifically approves it. But legal experts, along with Democrats and even some Republicans, say that interpretation does not hold up. Democrats called the memo baseless, accusing the White House of trying to scare workers and shift blame for the shutdown. Trump, meanwhile, said his administration will take care of our people, but that some federal employees, quote, don't deserve to be taken care of. Now, keep in mind, this is a draft memo, and at least at this point, it's not official policy. But it already has some of the country's largest workforce worried and angry, and some are choosing not to show up after all. TSA says more air traffic controllers have been calling in sick since the shutdown began, and the FAA is now blaming staffing levels for some flight delays around the country the last couple of days. Next up, the Senate is set to vote today on dueling plans to fund the government and end the shutdown. So far, though, every effort to reopen has failed. Stay tuned. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi faced a grilling on Capitol Hill in a Senate hearing yesterday that quickly turned into a political brawl. Democrats pressed Bondi on everything from the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey to the handling of files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to President Trump's decision to deploy National Guard troops to Chicago. Bondi repeatedly refused to answer questions, including whether she discussed Comey's case or other investigations with the president, as Dems accused her of allowing Trump to direct prosecutions of his political enemies. She also deflected questions about the so-called Epstein files. Throughout the hearing, Bondi hit back, though, even getting personal at times, attacking some senators over their own records, and Republicans defended her, pointing to newly released court records showing the Biden Justice Department had obtained phone data from some GOP lawmakers as part of the investigation into Trump and 2020 election interference. While the phone records were obtained through a court order, Bondi called it a betrayal of public trust and said the double standard is clear. Ultimately, both sides accused the other of politicizing the law. The U.S. Supreme Court seems ready to strike down Colorado's ban on conversion therapy for minors. And if that were to happen, it could impact more than 20 states with similar laws. The case was brought by a Christian therapist who argues the state is violating her free speech rights. Colorado says it's simply regulating healthcare, pointing out that major medical groups call conversion therapy dangerous and discredited. The practice aims to encourage LGBTQ youth to change their sexual orientation or gender identity to align with religious beliefs. Yesterday, conservative justices sounded skeptical of the state's argument, saying Colorado appears to allow therapists to affirm a young person's identity, but not to question it. A ruling against Colorado could have far-reaching implications, limiting states' power to regulate healthcare and expanding the court's free speech doctrine. A decision in this case, though, is not expected until this summer. President Trump's peace push for Gaza is entering a crucial stage, with his son-in-law and former Middle East advisor Jared Kushner, alongside envoy Steve Witkoff, said to be arriving in Egypt this morning to join negotiations aimed at ending the deadly 2-year war between Israel and Hamas. The president is said to be pushing hard for a deal within days. His plan, which has received widespread international support, calls for the immediate release of the hostages. It would also place Gaza under international governance and require Hamas to disarm, elements the militants have not accepted yet. So today's high-level talks will test whether a ceasefire and a broader peace deal is finally within reach or not. To be continued. National Guard troops from Texas are expected to deploy in the Chicago area today as President Trump moves forward with his controversial plan. Troops were already seen assembled on the outskirts of the city yesterday with riot shields in tow, while state and local leaders called it an unconstitutional invasion. About 200 troops from Texas are expected in the Chicago area today, with another 300 Illinois troops preparing to deploy. They're being sent to support federal immigration agents, not for direct law enforcement. In the meantime, activist groups are planning large protests in downtown Chicago this afternoon. Just yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel visited the agency's field office in Chicago, while Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem met with officials in Portland, Oregon, where Trump has also tried to send in troops. The White House says the deployment is aimed at restoring law and order, while leaders in both states say there's no need for federal involvement and have sued the administration. Remember, a federal judge has blocked the move in Oregon for now, while another judge is allowing it to continue in Illinois at least until the next court date. Both states are set to hold hearings tomorrow morning. Gold hit a historic milestone, surpassing $4,000 an ounce for the first time ever. The precious metal has surged more than 50% so far this year, outpacing even pandemic-era and recession-era rallies. Analysts say it's being driven by fears of a weakening economy, trade tensions, and a sliding U.S. dollar. Investors are pouring into gold, as well as silver and other alternative assets, as a safe haven. Meanwhile, everyday Americans are cashing in on the boom, selling old jewelry or investing through gold tracking funds. But the rush is also squeezing jewelry companies. Some brands say they're raising prices or switching to gold-plated designs as raw material costs spike. Some economists call this a fear indicator, a sign that investors are bracing for more uncertainty ahead. Though not everyone agrees gold is a good investment, saying it's not always as much protection against inflation that many claim, and precious metals can be highly volatile. Either way, most analysts say the world's appetite for gold is not fading anytime soon. We have more news for you still coming up, but first a quick break to thank our sponsor, Quince. When it comes to fall style, I'm looking to invest in pieces that feel timeless and last season after season. That's exactly what Quince delivers. Everything they make, from $50 Mongolian cashmere sweaters to washable silk tops and premium denim, feels polished, comfortable, and well-made. I still wear my favorite wool sweater from Quince that I got last year. I've also been loving the bracelet my friends gave me from Quince. Beautiful, simple, and something I wear practically every day. And what I love is how every piece from Quince feels wearable for real life, from weekday errands to weekend dinners. It's not just luxury you have to save for special occasions. It's comfort you actually want to live in. And here's the thing, Quince works directly with top-tier ethical factories and cuts out middlemen, so you and I get luxury quality at half the price of similar brands. It's smart style that feels just as good as it looks. Find your fall staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/newsworthy for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. That's QUINCE.com/newsworthy. Now, back to the news. Well, 6 former U.S. Surgeons General, who served under both Republican and Democratic presidents, issued a warning about Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. In a joint op-ed in the Washington Post, they say his actions are endangering the health of the nation. They accuse him of sidelining science and pushing misinformation about vaccines and other public health issues. The former Surgeons General say morale has plummeted inside federal health agencies and that talent is leaving at a time when there are rising threats. They're calling for new leadership to rebuild trust in public health. But Kennedy's office fired back, saying he's the first secretary willing to confront a broken system head-on. Both supporters and critics at least agree his leadership marks a major shift in how Washington handles public health. Federal health officials are warning customers to check their HelloFresh meal kits after some were found to contain spinach contaminated with listeria. The alert covers 2 ready-made meals, cheesy pulled pork pepper pasta and unstuffed peppers with ground turkey, both shipped directly to consumers. The meals were produced by a California company called Fresh Realm, which is linked to a growing listeria outbreak tied to other prepackaged pasta meals. The USDA says the spinach used in those meals tested positive for listeria. Customers are urged to throw them out immediately and clean any surfaces or refrigerators that may have come into contact. For details on lot numbers and how to check your boxes, you can visit the USDA's food safety website, and we'll include more information in our episode notes on our website as well. A fire at a major aluminum plant in New York is sending shockwaves through the auto industry. The fire happened last month at a facility owned by Novelis. It destroyed a key section that supplies about 40% of the aluminum used by U.S. automakers. The Wall Street Journal reports Ford is the most exposed since its top-selling F-150 pickup relies heavily on that aluminum. Other major brands, though, are said to also be scrambling to find alternate suppliers. The incident adds another supply chain headache for an industry already dealing with trade tensions and material shortages. Also of note in the auto industry, Tesla just unveiled cheaper versions of its best-selling SUV and sedan, the Model Y and Model 3. The new models start under $40,000, but come with shorter driving ranges and fewer features. The move is meant to boost sales in a tough year for Tesla, though the price difference doesn't quite make up for the $7,500 federal tax credit for new electric vehicles that just ended at the start of this month. Loud commercials on streaming platforms are about to get turned down, at least in California. Governor Gavin Newsom just signed a new law that bans excessively loud ads on streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and Prime Video. The law requires streamers to keep ad volumes consistent with the program they interrupt, much like a federal rule that's already been in place for traditional TV since 2012. The bill faced opposition from Hollywood studios at first, but they backed off after new protections were added. The law takes effect in the state in July of next year. And since California is home to the entertainment industry, the law could end up setting the standard nationwide. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. As I get older, I'm focused on health that lasts, not just quick fixes. And one product that's earned a spot in my daily routine is Fatty 15. It's a clean, vegan, science-backed alternative to fish oil, but with something completely new, a molecule called C15. It's the first essential fatty acid discovered in more than 90 years, and it's been shown to strengthen our cells from the inside out, supporting longevity, heart and liver health, and even better sleep and focus. What I love most is how simple it is. Just one small capsule a day. It's so easy to take because it's small and it tastes like nothing. And it's great knowing something so effortless is helping my body stay strong and resilient. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you live healthier longer. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/newsworthy and using the code newsworthy at checkout. Again, go to fatty15.com/newsworthy and use that code newsworthy at checkout. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. The 996 work culture seems to be making its way from China to Silicon Valley. 996, as in 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. New data from the fintech company Ramp shows San Francisco employees are increasingly working Saturdays, enough that it's showing up in corporate spending data. Compared to last year, corporate cards show restaurant and takeout transactions on Saturdays have surged, suggesting more people are on the clock over the weekend. The trend appears unique to the Bay Area, with no similar spike in New York or other tech hubs. But it's not just software companies. Ramp found higher weekend activity across multiple industries. The term 996 originated in China's tech scene, where some companies expected employees to work 72-hour weeks. China eventually outlawed that requirement, but the concept is now being embraced, or at least debated, in the U.S. tech world. On social media, some founders and engineers are touting 996 as the new standard in San Francisco's AI boom. Though some warn it could reinforce discrimination, making it harder for people with caregiving responsibilities to keep up. But with competition in AI soaring and billions of dollars at stake, many workers feel pressure to prove themselves. Well, thank you so much for listening today and for sharing the show. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news. Until then, have a great day.